France versus South Africa, the biggest game of this autumn international series, and a replay of when South Africa knocked the French out of their own World Cup, something that scarred the French for a long, long time. The Stade de France was looking absolutely epic pre-game, as it always does. There's just, why can't all stadiums look like the Stade de France pre-game? The light show, the noise, the ambience, it's just absolutely incredible. South Africa a little bit upset that France have declared that it was them that stole their own World Cup from them. A little bit interested in that one. That gave them some motivation. What also gave them some motivation was its captain fantastic Siya Kolisi's 100th international as well. And this game got off to a cracking start. Cheslin Kolbe winning an aerial battle. Nolan Le Garrec wanging one out the back door on a penalty advantage, something he is quite renowned for doing. That man can throw a ball across the pitch out the back of the hand like you would not believe. And it was France who struck early. Ramos finding nowhere to go in midfield, cut back towards the blind side. Just a cheeky chip in behind Kurtley Arendse. Penaud was onto it in a flash, over for the try and 7-0. Got to be said, it looked really lax from Kurtley Arendse there. Like Penaud just flew by him. It looked like he wasn't even really aware of the danger. Very kind of strange try, to be honest. And France were doing okay at this stage. You know, they were maintaining possession, but then they just started to self-capitulate via penalties. They gave one away when they had their own possession. I think it was sealing off or something like that. Sasha Feinberg Mngomezulu whacked that one over on the 9th minute for 7-3. Then France just played some really loose stuff. Fico ended up passing the ball into touch behind Penaud. And, you know, a few Frenchmen looking around at each other going, what's going on here? I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because France is part of their DNA to be fast and loose and creative and all that kind of stuff. But when it goes wrong, it can really go wrong. And what was also going wrong for the French was the scrum, because South Africa were absolutely dominant there, in particular on their loose head side. The man mounted on the French tight head was going backwards. Another penalty, 7-6. Fiku gave a really dumb penalty away at the restart, which gave South Africa some more territory and possession. Another penalty for a tackle off the ball. This one was missed, though, by Feinberg Mngomezulu. 1 minute later, in the 19th minute, France offside. Another long-range penalty missed by Feinberg Mngomezulu. So it was like 5, 6, 7 penalties. France could not get anything going in this game. And when they did have the ball, they were actually kicking quite a lot. Untamak was whacking the ball. He does kick a fair bit in the game, but I just felt like they needed to just put the foot on the ball a little bit in football parlance. They needed to try and get a little bit of control. South Africa were penalised for not rolling away. A very kickable penalty, this. And France went for the corner. Like it's a real kind of chest out man test when you do this kind of thing. Their driving more failed, but huge passes from Untamak and Ramos. The pass was so long from Ramos, but it still didn't really get to Penaud. Penaud had to run back towards the ball, then arced outwards, trying the corner for his second, 14-6, but he was whacked into the hoardings. After scoring, sliding in there, he was fine, but it's one of those that can be quite nasty. France 14-6 ahead, really taking their opportunities when they had them. The South Africans shortly afterwards had a scrum penalty advantage, and there was a massive hole back on the blind side. We saw this in, which game was it? I can't remember now. The New Zealand-Scotland game, when a lot of the players from the scrum were on the floor, and it was similar in this one as well. Cobus Reinach spotted the massive hole. He eventually skipped through it, chipped over, regathered and scored for 14-13, and it just looked, honestly, it looked too easy. It looked like, what's going on there? That couldn't have been quite as simple as that, but it was the scrum pressure that really created that. And then, just before half-time, the single biggest talking point from this game, as Lou de Jager tucked his arm, whacked Ramos round the head with it, and after a bit of discussion was sent off with a straight red, not to be coming back on, not a 20-minute red, off done. And I've got to say, this to me looked the exact opportunity. This is why I think they go yellow card review. So you can really take your time about it in the bunker, away from the white hot heat of the stadium and all that kind of stuff. Because for me, Ramos got tackled, he bounced up, he was almost at full height when Diego would have really been preparing, deciding where he's going to be targeting, and then popped straight back down again to his knees. Now, Diego obviously should have been wrapping that arm. Whatever happens, if you tuck that arm like that, it's a dangerous tackle. So penalty and yellow card for sure. But I think he had absolute mitigation in terms of getting him round the head. Now it did look really nasty. Of course, it looked nasty, and you don't want to see collisions like that in the game. But for me, this was this was a yellow card. I think that's it. I think you get mitigation because he was the change in height was really dramatic on this one. But that would be it. The South Africans down to 14 players for the rest of the game, down on the scoreboard at 14-13 and half time. The French had a big chance, or a relatively big chance, for this game, because actually the game was kind of stodgy. There weren't the World Cup quarter final, the game was all over the place. There were chances here, chances there, breaks, all that kind of stuff. This game was a little bit more turgid. There wasn't a lot of flow to it. And when Louis Bielbieri got round the outside of the South African defence and played it back inside to Penno, the ball was slightly behind Penno. Was the pass too deep? Was Penno too flat? I'm not quite sure, but Penno could only get one hand to the ball and knocked it on. That was a chance for the French. But Jegu came on, and he had a big impact. He just always seems to get involvements, and he had a charge down, won a jackal penalty straight after that, and the French are now 17-13, ahead on the scoreboard. And while they hadn't really, I'd say, created too many chances, they were just on top. They were just dominating territory and possession. They were just kind of had foot on the throat without really pressing away from it. But only 4 points on the scoreboard, and Sia Khaleesi had been taken off by this point. I think Etzebeth had been taken off by this point, and the cameras kept cutting back to Khaleesi on the sidelines, shouting and screaming for his team, encouraging, cajoling, showing all the passion that you want to see from your skipper. And Malcolm Marks, who was to play almost the full 80 minutes in this game, got really close after a South African maul. The South Africans tried to spread it wide where they did have numbers, they did have space. And this, I think, was the real turning point of the game, because Louis Bielbieri just could not stop being tempted about a floated pass. It just clipped his finger, but it was enough to put Jesse Creel off. Creel knocked the ball on, and they went back and checked it, and it was a clear penalty and yellow card. The French down to 14. And again, a little bit of a man tester. You'd think maybe South Africa would just take the points and then think, let's get back down there again, maybe kick another one to get the lead or whatever, but they did not do that. They went for the maul, and Andre Esterhazen, the back row centre back row, massive human, got over for the try and the lead at 18-17. And from there, the South Africans just didn't go away. It felt like the French deflated. It really did feel like that, because South Africa just stood taller, looked bigger, and although they had another maul fail on 71 with the French defending really well, Williams at scrum half spotted a dogleg, dummied, and he is rapid, and he was over under the sticks for 25-17, an 8-point lead. Less than 10 minutes left, and the French really, it looked like they had nothing left. For the vast majority of this game, it looked like they were in control. They were on top, and although they weren't like really damaging the South Africans too much, too often, it just felt like they were edging towards a win. And then the South Africans came back, and they got another try as well. The hammer blow right towards the end. In the ruck, Untamak was taken out by Peter Steph de Toy. It was him who was chasing back down the blind side of Sasha Feinberg, and Gomezolu took a loop ball off of Manny Libak. Feinberg and Gomezolu looked so fast as he ran round Untamak. Untamak, to be fair, looked a little bit disinterested. I'm going to say that. He looked like he possibly could have got there and just sort of ran out and then went and complained to the referee. They checked it on the TMO, and I am so glad they rejected this, because we've seen a few of these in recent times, and I don't want it to get to the stage where rugby in certain scenarios becomes a non-contact sport. Untermack was there at the ruck. He was there to be cleared out. Peter Steph came in aggressive, cleared him out, as you have to be if somebody is going to be trying to challenge for your ball. It's not his fault that Untermack completely pulled out and then went backwards a couple of steps and fell over. Peter Steph did nothing wrong, and I'm really glad the referee took control of that and allowed the try. 32-17. Absolutely wow. It came, really, it felt like that last 15 minutes almost came from nowhere. The South Africans were struggling, as I said, down to 14 players, but similar to the All Blacks that I spoke about from the previous game, they've got this kind of inner resolve. They've got this confidence of playing together for so long and being in hard circumstances, sticking in the fight and then taking their chances when they get the opportunity, and they go for it and get the win. And fair play, this will be another big scar for the French, I think, because they had ample opportunity to put this game away, I would say, and really just didn't put enough together. Um, there we go. That's my take on that. What do you think? Let me know, South African fans. Who did you think played well for your guys? And yeah, any other thoughts? Let's have in the comments down below, and I'll join you there for a friendly conversation. Give this video a thumbs up while you're down there if you don't mind. It helps other great rugby fans just like you find it. And you can subscribe there. You can watch that one next. And don't forget to get out and play.